The Dorkening and all affiliated shows are not intended for anyone under the age of 18. The following may contain discussions or scenes that have adult situations, graphic violence, nudity, strong sexual content, and graphic language. This show is intended for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised.
Rise and shine, my sinners. When Father Evil starts his day, he gets a little deadly. Deadly Grounds coffee has the richest, smoothest flavor you'll find anywhere. It's sinfully delicious. Once you go deadly, you never go back. Order yours at getdeadly.com. Coffee's so good, it's scary.
It helps if I click a button.
Yeah,
we are now live
That was great.
for another awesome episode of the Wicked Horror Show, powered by the Dorkening Podcast Network. And I know I'm going to butcher this name. Jai Patel is asking for a shout out. Hey, Jai. I got a bunch of people watching, but with us right now we have Kevin.
Hi, everybody. What's up?
Tony.
What is going on, people?
Tony, would you like to introduce our awesome guest?
Sure. We have the director of the, should I say, the new old movie? The movie that should have come out in 87 but came out recently. Robin Nguyen. Hopefully I said that right.
Nuyen.
I'm horrible with last names, so don't.
Well, if you got it right, you would be if you got it right, you would be the first one ever. So it's a Dutch name, not Vietnamese. No G in there. I absolutely have nothing against the Vietnamese, but usually people look at me and they go, "Oh," and then it's Robin, and then I'd be like in a doctor's office, and I walk up, they go, "Robin Nguyen," and then I come up and they go, "I'm sorry, we're looking for Robin Nguyen, this woman." And I go, "No, Robin Nuyen, here I am. I'm ready to go in." But anyway, thanks for having me. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, it's the story behind this movie, which, by the way, we didn't even say the name of the movie. Tony, we want to say.
I apologize. It's Housesitter. Now I can't. The
night they saved.
They saved Siegfried's brain.
Yes.
Right. Housesitter was the original title of the movie, and it really was about this house sitter that was going to be house sitting for his mad scientist doctor, who was also his professor. And that's when the script started out more of 13 people in a house, and we'll just go in and kill them. And then I found that I think we both found that we had found a hairdryer while working at Fox Studios as a couple of PAs, and we went into one of the studios. One of the big warehouses there, stages. There we go. One of the big stages, and there was nothing, completely empty, and I mean huge. I mean, they could have built Babylon. I mean, a city on the stage at some point, and they probably did. And nothing was on that stage except a 1950s hairdryer. And Richard and I were walking around we were tooling around in a golf cart because we were having to get stuff on the lot as PAs for this auto show from Detroit. And we pull in there on this golf cart and we look at that thing and we both at the same time look at each other and go, that would make a great 1950s sci-fi brain transfer machine. And we started writing the script, and the next day or so went out to the desert for a couple of weeks with a couple of typewriters, a big coffee pot, some weed and some shrooms. And a couple of weeks later, we had a script, which ended up being like 150 pages. The first cut of the movie was 2 hours and 40 minutes.
Wow.
There was so much stuff that got shot that is nowhere to be found in the movie because, I mean, the 2 hour and 45 minute version, it's still my favorite version. But, I might be a little biased. People are falling asleep, and I'm like, no, I think it moves. I think it works. And they're like,
Well, what's out there? I mean, what's out there now? I think that moves. Like, so I just reviewed it just the other day with my friend the 13th Wolfman, and we didn't know what to expect going in. I'm like, all right, so this movie was made in '87, but it didn't get released until just now, or just recently. I'm like, there's got to be a reason, and I like legit. This would be on my regular rotation if this came out in '87. This would have been something that I put up there with like all my other like comedy horror stuff from that time. So it's a shame that this didn't get released until recently, because I think it would have been huge.
All right, and I mean, you get older, and this happened all these years later, and I'm not going to deny there's not a part of me that just wonders how different my life would have been had this finished and been this version in 1987. And we literally, I mean, I wanted to make movies. It's the only movie I've ever made.
Yeah.
And so I was on some site one day. I mean, this is 20 years ago, and it might have been like a IBMD or whatever it is. And the only comment on the entire page about the movie was, this movie was shot in 1987 and was showed one time as a casting crew and never was shown again. And it was like so depressing. I'm like, that's me, I mean, it was like, and then one of the reviews I read recently, that because the movie's been getting reviewed and, they're all over the place. And then one guy wrote something that, and I apologize, I've never seen Evil Dead 2, but he said, this is my favorite movie after Evil Dead 2 now. And I'm like, wow. I feel bad. Haven't seen Evil Dead 2, but I appreciate the the fact
that's a big thing. That's a big deal.
Up,
Well, so I know we got a bunch of people watching, and we want to introduce everybody.
Welcome.
To Housesitter, The Night They Saved Siegfried's Brain. So this is the 80s. This movie was filmed in 1987, and it was recently finished by Skywalker Sound, and Robin and Richard put it together. We have a trailer for it. We're going to show it right now, and it is available on VOD and DVD, and I believe Blu-ray as well now. Yep. Link is in the show notes, and here's where we go.
In 1987, a motion picture was filmed that was so shocking, it was never released. Now, 32 years later, the world is ready. Housesitter, The Night They Saved Siegfried's Brain.
Crossover brain retention is not a dream.
The doc is having a party, and it's BYOB. Bring your own brain.
I need more brains.
Human brain experimentation?
This is all a game to you.
It is a game, and I play with myself.
Who are you to decide what's good for man?
I possess the knowledge. Look a little strung out tonight.
Housesitter, The Night They Saved Siegfried's Brain.
Don't get weak now, Thors. There isn't time.
If you play hard to get, then you won't have anything hard to play with.
50s style terror. Shot in the 80s. And completed now. A film 32 years in the making.
Oh, you cannot rush the process.
Housesitter, The Night They Saved Siegfried's Brain.
The world will finally know.
Coming soon. For real.
And like I said, link is in the show notes. Just check down below or up above, depending on where you're watching or listening to us. And you'll find the link to pick it up now, which we urge everybody to do, because this is an amazing movie.
I just picked it up on Amazon.
Oh, did you? Like during the trailer?
As the trailer was on, I didn't realize that it was, out on physical media. So
yeah. It's like, I think it's only like $20 too on Blu-ray, which isn't bad. I mean, to rent it on Amazon right now, it's $1.99. It's totally worth it. I don't know. I've already watched it a couple times. I'll be honest with you. I've watched it more than once.
Yes.
But Kevin was talking about how it would have been in his like loop of movies to watch all the time. Me, I started watching horror movies in, later in my teens. So this was going into like the 2000s. And at that point in time, I was watching, Monster High and Slaughter High and Student Bodies and stuff like that. And watching this, I was like, this would have fit right into that mold. And at that point in time, it's the 80s cheese movies and all this stuff, but it's the ones that we're talking about now that we always, it's fun, it's entertaining. And I think I think this movie would have fit, perfectly right in that mold.
Well, I can't tell you how genuine it feels, Tony, because when you're telling me that, I know it sounds corny, but I mean, your like face is lighting up and you're like, I can tell you're excited about that you liked it. Like, it's been a long journey, but when you have moments like this and you forget the hard times and just go, boy, this is fucking cool, and that's what it feels like. So I'm so happy you guys are digging it. I just, and I know Richard would be too, I mean, Richard and I, and my brother Mark was executive producer. He was there early, but Richard and I, we both wrote it together. We produced it together. He acted in it, starred in it. I directed it. I mean, it's like, it was the two guys making a movie that knew each other since college. And he graduated in 79. I graduated in 1980, and we ended up in New York together. And we lived in a bomb shelter, and literally a bomb shelter. And it was an illegal apartment. They had no lease. They wouldn't even put our names on the lease. I think I was Star, like they did symbols for our names so she couldn't go to court. And so she'd put me in my receipt. It would just have a star. And I go, what am I supposed to do with this? She goes, I don't know. Just, you paid me. Here's your receipt. I go, okay, Star. And, but you would go down into the basement and down this long thing. And it said bomb shelter. Well, the mailbox of that bomb shelter, they couldn't fit basement in there. So they wrote BSMT. When we made the movie, we formed a corporation to cover our ass, and the name of the corporation was BSMT.
That's awesome.
And that was for basement, right?
Yeah.
So people go, well, why do you spell basement BSMT? You go, okay. We lived in a bomb shelter. Couldn't fit on there. I mean, but when people, like I had a t-shirt made for it one time and they write basement, spelled out basement. I'm like, no, it's BSMT. And they go, you said it was basement production. They go, well, it's really production. But it's, on the mailbox, BSMT meant basement. We lived in the basement. People would come over and they'd go, which apartment? You go, basement. They go, no, I mean, where? For years, we lived in a bomb shelter.
If you pass the bomb shelter, you've gone too far. Yeah.
Yes.
That's
and it's not safe. Come back to the bomb shelter where it's safe.
Yeah. So was there any? I mean, there's one thing I actually brought it up to Tony before you came on, and I brought it up during the review I did. Was there like inside jokes in this one too? There was one joke that seemed like it happened a couple times, and they didn't notice it unless I've reading into things too much. Is there like inside jokes for you guys like scattered throughout the movie?
We ended up doing a lot of the voiceover a year later. And what we realized when we were assembling the footage was we didn't have a lot of close-ups and we didn't have a lot of shots of the lab that I really wanted. And what was happening was Richard was acting in it, I'm directing it, but at the same time we're producing it. And we were literally running out of money on a pretty regular basis during the shoot. So there's the part of you that somebody's coming up and going, okay, I don't know if we can film tomorrow because we're running out of money. And then somebody else is coming up and going, so you want to do this master? Do you want to do a 2-shot? Where's our point of view? And you're going, fuck, I don't know if it really matters because the producer part of me is being told we don't have money to film tomorrow. But the director part of me is wondering where you want the camera. And, we were constantly getting pulled in those directions, both of us. There's a scene. I started out saying we did a lot of the voiceover stuff a year later, and we also did a lot of close-ups and some close-ups of some lab stuff that weren't in the original lab. We just built them. And like the computer thing, I went out to my garage, grabbed the computer, got a fry pan out of my kitchen, and made that thing with a frying pan and the computer thing, like in about 5 minutes. It's like I made it and let's shoot it kind of thing. And that's how it was for a lot of people. It wasn't just me. I mean, everybody's like the scene where there's a guy hanging and the doc kills somebody and they're hanging over. And we had no scene there. It was like, I don't know what to do here because I don't know how much we can, slow things down. I always knew we had to at least, as they say, get the movie in the can. I knew we were going to run out of money before post. I could tell we didn't have enough money to get through production. So, and we owed money when we finished, but I was like, we have to get it in the can. We have to get it in the can. Beg, borrow, steal, whatever it takes. If we can shoot everything, then at some point we can make a movie. But if we don't shoot everything, we're never getting these people together, and you're never going to piece it together to make a movie. So that's how far we got when the movie was done, was we had the film in the can, a lot of, and we shot it, as you know, on 35 millimeter. Yeah. And our biggest expense for the entire film was the processing on the 35 millimeter. Okay. And then he had some knucklehead that was directing the movie that had never made a movie before. So he's printing everything because he loved hearing action, cut, print, you know. And then the bill came back and you're like, what the fuck? Who's paying for this? And they go, why'd you need everything printed? I go, did you hear the sound of that? Action, cut, print it, you know. And that sounds pretty cool. Until I saw the $75,000 bill from Photochem.
Oh, wow.
And it took us years to pay that off, literally. Wow. And we couldn't get our negative until that was paid off.
Wow.
So what we did,
it all worked out in the end, though. Like, so how did it go from that to now? Like, how did that happen?
Well, we ran into we met some guy. This happened a lot, and I can tell you without backtracking too much because I know we're moving forward. But we went into town. We ended up getting the castle from a guy. I'm looking at all these, 3-bedroom, 2-bath houses, suburban. That's what the script said. I'm in town a couple weeks earlier. Richard's back here doing some casting and trying to figure out money, different things. And he had a job. He was tying up that. I go back and I'm looking at these 3-bedroom houses, and I'm just like, man, this is not happening. I'm sitting at the bar, and this guy goes, hey, Robin, how you doing? I keep reading about you making a movie. I go, yeah, pretty cool, huh? And he goes, yeah, that's crazy. You should film at the castle. I go, wouldn't that be cool? And he goes, well, I'm the caretaker. The next day I'm there. There's his office person. And I said, I'm here to see Fred. And he's upstairs in the hot tub, or he's on the roof in the hot tub. Go to the back alley, go up the stairs, take the flap roof up, and he's in the hot tub. I get up there. He's naked with, one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. And both of them just really great people. So, of course, I get undressed. And I'm thinking to myself, I have to leave LA to have a Hollywood moment in fucking Kalamazoo, Michigan, taking my clothes off on this roof castle with getting in and going to make a deal for the castle. Well, he said, what, you want to shoot the movie here? I said, we'd love to. I love this house. I grew up in Kalamazoo. Everybody knows the castle. Castle's cool. Love to make the movie here. It's perfect. And it gave such validity to the movie. And the production value and the cool spaces you could go. And it's world renowned, people know the Henderson Castle, not everybody, but it's pretty cool. And so I'm sitting there and he goes, what do you offer? And I said, $5,000, 5-week shoot. He goes, let's do it. And I said, if I would have known it would have been so easy, I wouldn't have offered so much money. And he said, well, what would you have offered? I said, fucking nothing. And he goes, well, let's do that then.
Really?
Oh, wow.
That was it. That was the deal for the castle.
Wow.
Literally. And we were there 6 weeks, never charged us a penny. And there was this beautiful piece of a bulb that I think he got from France. And it might have been hand blown, but he was showing me this bulb out on the porch. And he's telling me the story. And he goes, I was in Paris and this happened. And then I bring this back and I'm going, man, that's a beautiful piece, beautiful piece. Well, we finished shooting. I'm out down on the porch and I hear this big crack. And one of the grips comes, Robin, and I goes, man, I fucked up. And I go back, and he had taken the ladder, and the back end of the ladder had hit that globe. So Fritz was in his office, first floor there at the castle. And I'm like, oh, fuck. The whole time we're like trashing his house, not on purpose, but you're shooting a movie. You're shooting everywhere. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it, but there were big 5-ton grip trucks. Richard and I turned around and went, I don't know how this happened. I don't know how it went from the two of us out in the desert writing a script to turning around and literally 300 to 400 people there working on the movie.
Wow.
And you're like, a lot of extras were extras, but big. We had full crews. We had nice catered. My mother had a restaurant. She catered the entire movie.
That's
she
awesome.
drove an hour both ways from a town in a restaurant, cooked everything up, put it in those big trays with the infernos underneath it, and we're eating lasagna and salad and cornbread and chili, and it wasn't like a low budget. Anyway,
it doesn't look it either. Like that's the thing. Like that's what another thing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. Like that castle definitely. I mean, if it was a 2 or 3 bedroom house like you were talking about, I don't think it would have had the same impact. That castle is a character in itself. It's it definitely, and it also adds I think it adds validity to the movie as well. Like it makes it seem like a bigger movie.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, and part of the reason, and I've told that story before, and it's always the same because that's exactly how it was. Although sometimes Fred, I don't know if he's pulling my leg, goes, that's not how I remember it. But my point of that was, however it happened, but that's how it happened. That kind of stuff started happening constantly. I call the Radisson. They give us 15 rooms for free for 6 weeks at the hotel in exchange for a credit, because they love the idea of these hometown kids and a couple of guys who went to college together at Western coming back to make a movie, who live in LA but come making it here. And they were just like, 15 rooms, we can do that. And so we're staying at the nice hotel, nice gym, nice pool, for free, making a low budget movie up at the castle. That's why we kept running out of money, because we didn't plan on all of a sudden it spreading out and getting so big. And I think when we planned in the beginning, I know, but we were going to shoot it in the house I was renting in North Hollywood, which was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We were going to shoot it there. That's why the script was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So we had to change all this script stuff because it was written specifically for the house I was renting. And we're thinking we're going to do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches on the back picnic table with a crew of 6 on a 16mm camera. And it was not that. And you can tell by the look and the sound, it's a real fucking movie. Literally Paramount did the picture. And when I say they did the picture, I mean, they did frame for frame. And that's kind of, like I say, things happened all the way through to the end where people kept stepping up and going, Skywalker Ranch, Paramount Pictures, a guy that did a 4K for us as a favor. I mean, lots of stuff. But right after we made the movie, ran out of money, we went to a sound house in Burbank, met the guy through somebody else. He literally gave us the key to his studio. Richard learned how to be a mastermind, which is what he has done for a living for a long time. I mean, he directs but he's really good with editing, and he was on, The Simpsons for years. And, but he originally learned doing stuff on our movie. We had it transferred over, and it was a 440 machine on 3/4 inch video because we couldn't get our negative. So we took the work prints and ran those on the 3/4 inch, edited on 3/4, and started shopping it around as a rough cut, saying we're out of money, we need to finish it. And we got some pretty good offers on it. But everybody wanted to own the movie. We had one offer. We were really close. We had the contract drawn up. Then we were ready to sign it. We had a great deal. It was going to be a big distribution deal, money, blah, blah, blah. And then we get the final contract. It's like nothing of what had been discussed with all these meetings. And that was in 1990. And Richard and I, after having finished it, having get these offers, having to work, we were both working full time. Then after dinner, we would go work in the studio to edit the movie. I did the Foley. We were doing the sound. We made all the sound effects. Oh, wow. There I am with a tin can and a drumstick. The sound of Doc pulling the hair out of his head is Richard, and then the sound of the owl is Richard doing the hoo hoo. That's how we did it. I was down there, and Richard's learning how to record it all. But in 1990, when we got burned by that distribution company, it was like, for both of us, a huge kick in the nuts. We had been struggling. We literally 87 to 90 been working on it, had been teased. And we thought we had a deal here, thought we had a deal here. things are kind of changing. And then these people go, we love it. We want it. We're going to do this. And then the bad contract. And Richard and I went, you know what? I'm done. I can't. Both of us just were like, I can't keep making this such a full-time job. We both have a wife. We both, Richard at that time had one daughter. And shortly after that, I had 2 daughters. Richard had 2 daughters. We both had full-time jobs and needed a steady paycheck and health insurance. And so the movie, literally from 1990, when Richard and I made that decision together of just going, after that, I don't think let's take a break, come back to it and see what we want to do. And literally we were just like, let's take a break. Well, the break ended up being 27 years. Because
we're relaxed, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, literally that's, and it's the old John Lennon quote, life happens where you're, waiting for however it ends, like shit happens. But Richard and I both retired last month, and it's, this is a new chapter. It's kind of this room behind me for years was this little cubby hole. I mean, it wasn't a cubby hole, but it was dark and low ceiling. And I had 3 things that I wanted to do for my 60th birthday. One was finish this office, which it's done. And number 2 was finish the movie and get it out there. And number 3 was finish this script that I've been working on for a long time. And I'm 63 now, and I started doing these things at 59. I'm thinking, I'm going to get the movie out of the vault. And I'm not picking on Richard. I love him so much. And obviously between my brother and Richard and I, but Richard and I, like I said, we couldn't have done it without Mark and his initial investment. It was a big investment. We couldn't have done it without him. It wasn't just the initial investment. It was that when had 22 additional investors as time went on. But the first question everybody asked us always was, how much money do you have now? Nobody wanted to be first money. So once we had first money, that was a pretty good chunk. Then the other 2 people eventually came in, and that was a big. But it wasn't easy talking Richard into pulling the movie after 27 years and, hey, let's finish it. And I'm not saying, and he'll admit this. I mean, he's like, Robin, oh really? And I'm like, I'm turning 60 next year. I don't want to go from 60 to death having people ask me whatever happened to the movie. I can't take it anymore. I want to go home. I want to sit at Thanksgiving without somebody asking me, whatever happened to that movie? Or somebody saying, am I ever going to get my money back? And I thought, there's only one way everybody's going to get even a chance to get their money back, and that's to have a finished film made as well as we can. And I'm pretty happy. In my line that I always use is, it's what we got for what we shot, and it was all mixed together on one stripe before we went back and tried to do the new edit. Richard edited out like 13, 14 minutes, really moved it along a lot better. But we could only do the sound effects knowing that we were all mixed down. We couldn't afford at the time to keep it into one stripe. We were doing a screening, so we put it all onto one stripe, onto a 35 millimeter roll. And so when we wanted to do effects, we wanted to do editing just recently, we were completely boxed in by what decisions we could make because the dialogue, the effects, and the music were all mixed together. So if you edited one thing, it was a mess. And the guy at Skywalker, he redid the entire movie, but every time he would turn around and goes, I can't believe it. Geez, I can't, jokingly. That was him joking. But and his other favorite line was fucking mono. And then he'd go back to work. But, his name is the sound surgeon because that's what he was. What he did, when I first met him, I'm telling him the story about getting it out of the vault. And I've seen him at lunch where I work at Disney. He's sitting out there. We're talking movies, politics, shit. I see him 3-4 weeks in a row. Finally, I say, God, I keep seeing you here. We keep talking. I've been here over 25 years. Tell me what your story is. He goes, well, I'm working across the street on Pirates of the Caribbean 98 or whatever it was. And I go, really, what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm a sound guy. And I go, wow, that's really cool. And I tell him this story. I just got it out of the vault. Trying to figure out and then finally Richard came on. And once Richard came on, it was like, here we go. And Richard said, if we're committing, we're I said, I didn't start it not after all these years. I'm not stopping again. The joke is people go, you going to make another movie? And I go, I don't think I don't think I have this in me at 90 to be finishing up the next. It takes me 30 years to make a movie. I think this is a one-time deal. But when I'm talking to the sound guy and I see, he goes, how's the sound? I go, the sound sucks. And he goes, really? And I go, yeah, it's just bad. It wasn't anybody's fault. It just was, that's the way it was, and the guy who did our sound guy, one of the coolest guys I've ever met, but he had never done a movie before, and big crew, a lot of movement around, a lot of stuff on the roof, a lot of stuff in basements, a lot of stuff in stairways. It got tricky, and he did the best he could. And like I say, good guy. And he goes, it sucks. And I go, yeah, it really sucks. Now the picture, we paid the DP very good money for 1987. I mean, he got a big chunk of our, because even then I'm thinking, Richard's thinking, we're all thinking, we got to have a good picture. We don't want it to look like shit. If you can't see it, you can't watch it.
Yeah.
And the DP was great. And you didn't know how good the DP was. I mean, I did, and he took time. So a lot of stuff didn't get shot. And I get it. He's fighting for the look of the picture, and I'm fighting to get it in the can. Sometimes I'd go, that's good enough. And he's like, it's not good enough. And then he'd slow down more. And I'm like, okay, you're going to play that fucking game. Okay. But you couldn't push because then he'd slow down even more. But good guy. And the look he got was worth the time. We had to go back later and shoot shots we could have shot. Anyway, I was very thankful we paid him the money and he was who he was. It cared about the shot when we had the original negative cleaned and transferred and then put on as a 4K. And you watch it now and it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And when we did a one light when we were trying to sell it and it was set in the vault because we couldn't afford to get it color corrected. So they just did a one light on it. So when we were showing it around, half the movie you couldn't hear and half the movie you couldn't see. So it'd be like dark and muffled voices and you'd be like, it's like anything you're watching on stage or somebody's telling you a story. Once you tune out, it's hard to come back.
Yeah.
Once your mind is gone, you're like, hey, check that out. Hey, what am I doing later? What am I eating later? And it happened a lot with our finished version that we're pushing and didn't get. And as I joked with people, I'd say, if you can't hear it and you can't see it, that's fucked up for a movie. I mean, you're kind of behind the 8 ball.
Yeah.
And between Paramount and Skywalker, and so I talked to the Skywalker guy and still didn't know where he worked. And he goes, come across the street. And they wouldn't do that. He goes, you're going to have to just come up and go where I normally work. And I said, so where are we heading? He goes, Skywalker Ranch. I go, what? He goes, yeah, that's where I work. Skywalker Ranch. I have for the last 27 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow. So what's this going to cost me? And he literally said, you couldn't afford me. And I go, so, and I'm, like dumbfounded, like, well, okay, so what are we going to do? He goes, I'm going to give you the family and friends discount. And he worked for a year and a half on our movie for free.
Wow.
Literally.
And it sounds awesome. Like that, like it's almost one of those things where like at first I was like, this movie really wasn't done in 87. When you see it, like when it first started, I was like, it's so clear and it sounds so good. I'm like, they just made it look like it's an older. I'm like, but now I'm like, no, that's a real mullet. That person had a real mullet right there.
There's a lot of good production designers and costumers, but you're not going to get as good as that movie. I mean, that's 1987. Some of those hairstyles and those clothes.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
We're all guilty of it. Whatever.
He was just going to do, and it sounds like I'm playing the role of everybody's a great person, but really we met so many just cool people that wanted to help because they liked the project, the idea of it, the hometown, whatever. And they liked the movie. I mean, the guy from Skywalker did not sign on until he watched it. And he came back and goes, I'll do it.
That's awesome.
He goes, this is cool. This is really cool. And he goes, yeah, the sound sucks. And this is really cool. He goes, we talked about, I said, if you just do the lab and the murders, that's all I care about. Just do that. We get up to Skywalker and he goes, I love this movie. We're doing the whole movie. We're doing, and he literally started, and the reason it took a year and a half was because he's in London doing Jurassic Park. He's in New York. I mean, he's doing big movies. And at one point we're doing ours, and we're in the Hitchcock studio there, theater. Beautiful, still, just the coolest place. And they're doing Star Wars while we're doing brain sounds. I can hear the labor site, the light say, shoom, shoom, shoom. And we're out in the hallway. Richard and I are like hearing the lightsabers, and we're hearing brain bubbles. And I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, that's pretty.
I did not see this happening when I, like I said, at 59, I said, well, how long will it take me to finish the movie? I'm thinking, well, I want it for my 60th birthday. That's the whole point. Finish it by my 60th. And it was finished over 3 years later. Just because we were both working full time. Shit happens,
So in the original cut of the movie was all the lab stuff, was that black and white originally? Or was that
shot black and white?
Okay.
Yes. And the first director that we hired, who we ended up firing just before we started, well through production, right before we started filming. And he was so condescending to the cast and crew in Kalamazoo, kind of playing the role of, I'm a Hollywood director and I'm from London and I'm older and smarter than everybody here and I'm the director. And part of us got hoodwinked with that attitude, like, well, he's such a prick, he must be good. And but he was a smooth prick. And everybody was complaining about him. And we realized there's just no way we could continue with him without alienating people. He's like treating people like, I can fire you. And you're like, you see, this guy's working for $10 a week in food. This one's at 25. Here's a high roller getting 50. And they're working this week 90 hours. Now, I know that sounds non-union. I'm quite a union guy and have been for a long time. But we had a Screen Actors Guild limited. I didn't want to get at all of this because that's how we did the actor thing. But believe me, people could leave anytime they wanted. They go to breaks anytime. It was a busy thing, but people wanted to work on a movie. Yeah. And it was up front. We're working 6 days a week, 12-hour days. And if you want to come in early and work late, you can do that too. And I always felt, and I've always believed this, whether it's a friend coming over to help me move some furniture, you feed people well and treat them fair. You can get a lot out. I mean, and don't lie to them. Don't fuck with people. Don't fuck people. It's that simple. And if people see that you're working just as hard as they are and harder, they'll go, God, we're all. And everybody felt like they were in together. Let's get this in the can. Became kind of a mantra, almost of, we knew what we were up against. We got to at least get it in the can. Otherwise, all of this is for waste. It was never going to get started again without there being a movie.
Well, we've had many people on doing like independent film, and I think it's just people's love for movies that how many people just go on set to just help out to say, hey, listen, I was part of a production. I was, I might not have my name on it, but I did part of this and all that stuff. So it's the love of the movie. It's the love of the, it like if I had a chance to work on a film, you don't have to pay me doing this. People are like, oh, you do a podcast. How much do you make? I'm like, I make nothing. It's the fun. I love movies so much that you don't have to pay me anything. Like you said,
like we're getting the experience. Like we get to talk to people like Robin, we get to talk to people that make really cool stuff.
Really, really cool what you're doing. It looks cool. Sounds cool. You guys are cool. I
don't know about that.
And I'm giving you, benefit of the doubt at this point, but there's still time I could, but yeah, you don't. One of the biggest differences was that by making it 1987 and going back to Kalamazoo, people really, when you mentioned, Tony, that want to be on the set, and I know that's still the case, but at that time, it really was the case. I mean, we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters of people in Kalamazoo saying, I want to work on the movie. And hundreds of people showed up to be extras, to audition. I mean, it was 1987 to be shooting at the castle on 35 millimeter. I'm not being a dick, but there was a big deal to those people. It was a big deal to us. And they wanted to just be around the movie. you know. It was a buzz. It was fun. You know, I was a dick sometimes. You take it a little too serious.
If you did the movie in Hollywood, like in California, you wouldn't have had that. You would have had people that are
yeah. I mean, we were blowing power early when we were filming because you had this old castle built in 1896. Now the power source, the electricity wasn't still that, but it still had some old wiring, and it was a castle. And so we're hooking stuff up. We were constantly blowing the power. So I call what was called Consumers Power, Kalamazoo Consumers Power. They would be like here, like New York, Con Ed. And they were the power company. So the guy comes out. I said, here's what's happening. Can you put a big power pole in so the house can work separately, and we're running off this big power pole. I mean, we had 5Ks, 10K, you know, and it was all the neighborhood. You could see the movie and almost downtown. You could see where the movie was happening because the castle's on the top of the hill. And the guy goes, okay, we can put a pole in. So they put this great big pole in. Greatest thing ever. You know, here's this, all our power come out, problem solved. And as the director, I was like really excited. I go, finally, because the DP's going, I need more power. I mean, these lights, this is what it's, and he was heavy on overlighting it and then pulling it down. So, but it looks great. Don't get me wrong. And I said to the guy, I go, so what's this going to cost? And he goes, you know, my wife heard your interview on the radio, and she thought it was so cool that you were coming back here, that you're from this town and you met your friend, that you and your brother are from Kalamazoo, and you met your friend in college here. You went to Western, and she just loved the story. She said, I better take care of you today. No charge.
What?
So 6 weeks of the power source, big fucking bowl. Never got a bill.
That's awesome.
So in essence,
all part of the gig, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Oh, they're making a movie. This woman tells her husband, now you be good to them today. Okay, baby.
In essence, this movie was meant to be made at that point in time.
Totally.
After all the, the stuff that you got and people excited to
we get the rooms, we get the power pole, we get, and it went on and on like that through the entire production.
I mean, it must have meant to be. I mean, at this point in time,
great way to put it.
It's one of those things too. Like, I'm a horror movie fan, so watching these movies, the 80s movies, it has its own style and stuff. So seeing a new one come out now, it kind of brings back that like love for it again. Like I want to go back into my collection and watch, like Student Bodies and stuff like that, just because, with the new horror and new indie stuff, it kind of, not that it got lost in my head, but it was one of those things where it kind of, now seeing this, I'm like, I want to bring back, like it comes in waves, I guess. I just want to come back and watch those old movies. So
did you guys like the lab stuff?
What was that?
Did you like the laboratory stuff, the black and white?
It was amazing. Yeah.
We were talking about before. I'm like, favorite
stuff.
The Folgers can and the seed batteries.
Yeah, exactly. It was great.
And he's trying to connect the battery, and he says you can't see what was it?
Red positive, black negative. Who can tell in black and white?
Yeah, that's right. I should have.
Brain.
Yeah. But there was one like thing that I didn't know if it was an inside joke, but there was like a scene where everyone was like kind of showing up to the party, and people, like everyone that was walking through was just like, "I love this," or whatever. Like Tony didn't realize it. My friend Wolfie didn't realize
Everybody says the same thing. It's just a joke on coming to a party and
I didn't know if it was an inside thing. I'm like, is it something between these guys that there's like someone just said that and they thought it was funny? But yeah, I noticed it and I was just like, there's got to be something else to this. I guess not.
I would. Well, it was just we were trying to figure out how to we were cutting pages because, like I say, the script was big, and it's like, we got 3 pages in and we've been doing it for 2 weeks. There's the old joke. I don't know. I think it's John Huston, but when the studio head shows up and said, "You're running way over budget. You need to pick up your pace, or I'm going to cut off money." And he took the script, ripped it in half, and said, "We're on schedule now." And that's almost what we did with this, and that's why it's choppy in certain areas, and you're like, "Oh, that's weird," because certain things didn't get filmed, or it was written and it was filmed, but there's not that little transition piece. No one has ever figured out why the girl is in bed and stuff comes out of her ears. What the hell that is about?
Yeah,
there was a scene before that. There's a scene after. There's a scene three scenes earlier that sets up this. The gag is she's getting her brains fucked out, but before that, there's a couple of setups. So now I just tell people, well, at that time they had breasts in every single 80s low budget horror movie at the time. Didn't matter if it made sense or not. So here's mine. It's just, who knows why it's there? It's there.
Yeah.
Because the guy leaves and he's so happy about it. I'm like, it looks like she's like dead here.
She is dead.
Yeah. Well, at that point in time after, I'm like, did I miss something here? But it was
the whole end gag was supposed to be she got her brains fucked out.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of brain things throughout that were just like brain stuff. But one thing that, they had the big joke, not a joke to everybody, but Elvis Presley was spotted at the Burger King in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1987.
Oh, really?
And it was a big deal at the time. I mean, it was enough where you're hearing jokes like on Johnny Carson. It's like, oh, I understand that, Elvis is, having a Whopper at the Burger King. Well, the Burger King was just a few blocks down the hill from the backside from the castle. So, as you know, Richard is wearing the Elvis outfit throughout the movie. The National Enquirer does a huge story, front page, I believe. Elvis spotted at Burger King in Kalamazoo. And they do some, weird things where it looks like he's, or sketching. This is what he looked like now. It's like, is this guy really the old Elvis? Whatever.
Yeah.
Although it was only 10 years later from the time he died. Well, I always wanted to get a line in there that, because there was a lot of things where people are walking outside and doing stuff and around the thing, or they're inside the party. And I wanted to have lines, one or two lines that are like famous lines from every movie of these two people. Like, the guy's walking around the edge and he goes, "You're going to need a bigger boat." It makes no sense about anything except it's just a line. Yeah. Right. And and I had written it one time and it never got done. Just where not everything got shot. But the thing was, the guy says the other guy, they're standing on the back there and they're just smoking a cigarette, but they're not saying anything. We're kind of shooting, coming around. And I had the one guy go, "Ping pong balls. I thought you said King Kong balls." And the other guy starts laughing, right? Well, it's a very old joke. The punchline is ping pong balls. I thought you said King Kong's balls. And I just wanted, that was all, just the one guy said to the other guy that laugh, all right? Like all over the place, in the party, around. Well, none of it got shot. None of it ever got done. Well, the one thing that I was going to make sure that got in there was two people are walking around the outside and the lines are, "I saw Elvis at Burger King last night." And then the other person goes, "You mean you saw Andy?" Richard's character, Andy, in his Elvis outfit. So it's a girl. This woman goes, "I saw Elvis at Burger King last night." The guy goes, "You mean you saw Andy?" She goes, "No, Elvis." He goes, "Eating a Whopper?" She goes, "Double." He goes, "You know it, right?" That's the lines. I wanted that in there like forever. Yeah. And you can't, it's there. And they're walking around and and it's just that little bit of like, and other shit's happening. But there's a lot of stuff like that when you see it a second time. Now my thing I tell everybody is, if you haven't seen it 3 times, you haven't really seen it. Because there's a lot of weird, like there's a rat behind Doc when he becomes a rat. And there's a shadow back there. I've seen people see the movie numerous times, never saw the rat shadow until the third or fourth viewing. Now it seems like a little corny thing, but it's fun to find stuff.
Yeah, I didn't notice it. So now I'm going to have to go back and
Kevin's the king.
When Doc becomes a rat, behind him is a rat shadow, but it's really hard to see. But it's there. But we didn't want it to be obvious. We wanted it to be there for the third viewing.
Yeah, well, it's my third's coming up, so I'll have to be on the lookout for it. And that other line too. That's one thing too. Like you mentioned the rat, but I knew exactly what I was getting into when a cat barked and a rat meowed. I was like, all right, I'm in for a good time. This is gonna be fun.
Well, I think it really got pushed more in a comedic way as the editing was happening and as sound effects and that kind of thing, because it really did start out much more of an R-rated, really heavy-duty slasher movie. And then I think Richard and I both found, and I know, we worked really well 50-50 together on the script. I mean, some stuff, obviously, you remember you wrote, and there's a lot of stuff I think came out of our mouth at the same time. I mean, we literally would just pass pages back, and one would make changes and then put it on the done pile without even looking at what the change was, going, okay, I saw you change something, but that's fine with me. And invite, both ways. So I don't know where I was, but I appreciate you guys enjoying the movie so much. This is it's very cool. Now, what happens with this thing here? Are people listening now, or?
Yeah, they're watching live now, and then next week the audio will go up on the the audio podcast side. So people are listening to it now, and then other people will listen to it a week from now.
Right. Can you seem to be the emailer, Leo? Can you email me how I could send this so somebody could listen to it?
Oh yeah, totally.
That'd be cool. I think people get a real kick out of it.
Now I have a question. The industry itself, making a movie change, but also like the way it's seen and heard. Like now we got the internet. If a movie is even, rumored, there's like hundreds and thousands of people that know it because it's on every website and every social media there is. Then did they have that back then as much? Not as much, but
nothing. Absolutely nothing. I mean, we got a lot of publicity, but it was basically me getting on the phone and calling up the newspaper and say, hey, we're making a movie. I was, and then calling a radio station and said, we're coming to town to make a movie, a full length feature, 35 millimeter, never has been completely shot in Kalamazoo ever in the history of the city. And we're coming there to do it. You want to do an interview? And everybody said yes. But I was like, I had to be P.T. Barnum along with like anybody does. You're pushing a project. I wish I had that much pushing me now trying to sell it. I'm letting people know, and we're on Facebook and doing this kind of thing. But
the good thing is too,
I'm like, okay, here we go. And what's weird about Richard and I doing them, it's like, okay, we wrote a movie. Now what do we do? Well, let's try to sell it, or let's try to make something. It's like, well, I guess we have to make it, and then we make it. And it's like, what do we do now? It's like, well, you edit it, and we've never done that before. Okay, then we got to do sound effect. We've never done that before. And then we've never done that before. We do a rough cut. We're supposed to what now? We have to sell it. Well, we've never done that before. I mean, we literally, like now we're, I went to the American Film Market last November and did a screening of the movie, talked to people, showed the trailer. The trailer got a lot of interest, and then had numerous offers after that. And we ended up with Leo Mark, who we're very happy with. And they've been very good about getting us on all these streaming sites and getting us on DVD. And I'm not even sure where it's at and what's happening. I don't have a Facebook page or an Instagram page, and I pretty much email. That's me. And so I don't know what's happening with the movie. I really don't. I don't know if like when you're telling me you watched it twice, that makes me go, that's crazy. Here's somebody I've never met going, I watched your movie that you made.
And I'm going to watch another time now to find the rat shadow.
You want to see the rat shadow, but but I think it's I have no idea. Now my kids, they're 28 and 26, and they're wizards on all. I mean, and they've helped me different times, but now we have somebody that's doing the Facebook page and the Instagram. I mean, it's like I don't want to do that too. You know,
Right. Well, the good thing is with the horror fans in the community, like when they like something, they let everyone know about it. So word gets out quickly.
I read one review that it was just brutal to, you know, in the I mean, absolutely brutal, absolutely like nothing about it. And,
that's the unfortunate part of the internet as well. You get a lot of people.
Yeah, no, I get it. I mean,
it's up their mind before they even watch the movie, or if they even watch the movie, you know.
Yeah, and I'm like, wow. I mean, there's real hatred coming for this. It's like it doesn't deserve hatred. It's like, okay, it's like talking about the pacing being slow and the jokes don't land, and you know, that kind of thing. And I'm reading it, and I mean, just being, I'm going human. I'm going, well, that kind of sucks. You know, you know, I just was like, wow.
I don't know. The thing with me is like, you know, if like, I always try to find something good, even if it's something I don't like. But if I like it, I really like it. So it's, and I'm not going to necessarily leave a negative review. I may give like fewer stars or something, but
right.
You know, some people like they just have too much time in their hands.
Well, everybody's a critic nowadays, and the fact is, a lot of these people don't give their review, and it's like, especially if you enjoy it or you watch it, it's like, did you even watch the movie? Because half of that stuff isn't even either in it or whatever. It's just like everybody's a critic. But
yeah, it was interesting, you know. And I not that I've even checked back in to see any, and it has nothing to do with that. It just like, okay, I looked, and that's what's out. You know, that's kind of what's happening. But I think what bothered me, or what I thought just kind of made it weird to me, was I got what he was saying that he didn't like, and I agreed with it. It was like, you're right. It just, and there's a pacing thing and a pacing thing for some jokes and some pacing, because it was everything was mixed together. We could not edit down any. So I'm not going to call them up and go, we couldn't make those. Yeah, it needs another edit. It needs this, but we couldn't do it because it was all together. But the other part of me was going, I don't care how much you hate this movie. There are a few things in there, I don't care how much you hate it, that you have to like. You just have to. So even you say you hate it, except for this was kind of funny, or this was kind of interesting, or I liked that. And when you talked about the cat and the bark and the rat and the meow, you know, we were trying to set up that it was going to have a sense of humor. It's going to have a horror effect, but it was really going to. So when you show that earlier, you have the owl who, you know, the whole thing going on with the animals all making different sounds, you know, and okay, something's going on here. We don't know what's going on, but something's going on that they all sound different. And this guy's going into this laboratory, and it's really weird because it's in black and white. So it's another world. So we know that right away, that there's some shit going on outside because the animals all sound different, and it's a different world in this strange place.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, so then we do the head comes off, and it's kind of like, oh, it's going to be one of these. I thought it might be kind of tongue in cheek because of the cats and the dog. So then the head falls off, and the helmet shield comes up like that. And I'm the actor, and they're doing that. And I remember as it's being done, I'm thinking, I want to move my eyes so we can hang on to them. I show the eye movement and go, we just did a murder, but it's still going to have a sense of humor. And by having the eye movement, it's like, oh, okay. And then we're going to have this and this, and it's okay to laugh.
Yep.
And it always gets a laugh, not a huge laugh, but it, you know, just, I think it's like
it sets the pace. And like you did something like the guy said something negative about the pacing. I personally didn't have any issue with any of the pacing at all. But now that you've mentioned that there was cuts, I might pay a little bit more attention just to see that. But
sure, I get it.
Yeah, but I thought it flowed great. I mean, my friend, the 13th Wolfman, like I was expecting him to pull it apart, and he loved it. Like he's like, I love this movie. He's like, I'm buying the physical copy. It's going to be in my collection. I loved it. So
good.
Yeah.
But at that point in time, too, we were talking about like student bodies and all this stuff. Sometimes through that, it was like all over the place, and it's just like, okay, it's not going to be one straight line. It's going here and here and here. But sometimes it makes the movie, you know, that some movies go way too deep, and it's like 15 different places. Right. As long as you have some kind of straight line and there's, you know, curves or whatever, I don't mind it. And this one, it might not have made sense at the time, but at that point in time, I'm like, I'm enjoying what I'm watching. It doesn't have to make 100% sense because one, it's not like it's not like you're calling it a drama and the best movie ever and all this stuff. It's like a fun.
You feel free, but
but yeah, I definitely dug it too.
Yeah,
and,
so
I don't know if the reviewer knew,
I'm bringing it up not because I'm and if I come across like, oh, that's not it. My point, I guess, was kind of what you guys were mentioning. People around the internet, I just find it, being an older guy, how crazy it's brutal. It was like, fuck, it's just a movie, buddy.
Yeah. People take it personal. It's weird.
It's just somebody that's trying to go, hey, we're living through some shit, and go have a laugh a little bit. Mm-hmm. Watch a mad scientist need 13 brains and do a transfer with a hairdryer. Check it out.
Well, it's definitely one I would say. I think it's unanimous amongst us. We would all recommend this one, right?
Yes.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Oh,
so we're at the hour mark. So I don't know if we want to wrap things up, Leo.
Yeah, totally. And you know what? While we do that, why don't you guys say your favorite part from the movie? You want to do
My
that?
favorite part?
Well, just something that really.
Well, one thing that I obviously said like the beginning with the rat that meowed. I was like, I knew like where I was gonna be, but there's also a part where the mad scientist or the scientist is like walking into a bar and he's like touching a woman's head, and he goes over and he's touching a guy's head. The guy has got like the most like phenomenal mullet, and I'm just like, oh hey, what's up? Like it was a really weird. I don't know. It's very uncomfortable and kind of weird. And the fact that the guy was so excited.
Great. The script says Doc walks through feeling heads, right? But the one you mentioned is because
he's like a built guy.
And that guy had no idea he's going to touch his head. It wasn't like it was rehearsed like that or anything. He just walks by. Here's a brain. And he was, he just walks by and touches it. And I think he even does this wave like
oh, hey,
I didn't know that was happening. What's up? Yeah. And I remember every time I see it, I go, God, that's so truthful.
Yeah.
But
I thought it was like on purpose. So it's even funnier that the guy didn't know that it was going to happen.
No,
that's great. Yeah. And I'm like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, did he think it was a girl because of the hair? I'm like, but what about the muscles? He was pretty big. So
yeah. He was around. He was a good guy. A lot of good, just nice people, happy to be working on film, and
they must be thrilled that it's out now too. Like these people have probably been talking about it for years. I'm like, oh yeah, I was in a movie. I was dancing in this party, and they're like, yeah, okay. And now they finally can see it.
Well, we had a screening planned for April 4th earlier this year, and it was at what's called the State Theater in Kalamazoo. And it was built in 1927, and it's what one would call a movie palace. And it was going to be a big showing, and this version has never been shown in Kalamazoo before. So it was going to be quite an ordeal. There's music beforehand. There's going to be food, and there was going to be playing in this beautiful 1,500 seat theater. And then it got canceled because of the virus. And it's really disappointing because what I mentioned, because you had said I'm sure a lot of people in Kalamazoo were getting a kick out of it. I really wanted everybody to see it there. And my brother Mark was producing it, and sales were through the roof, and it was going to be a big deal. And we are running an ad this week in Kalamazoo on the radio, the big hot happening station, through the weekend, saying that it's on DVD and it's on streaming services and Google, and there's even a thing on there saying, hey, help us trend on Amazon and see if we can catch a buzz.
Yeah.
So people in Kalamazoo will be able to listen will know this week that, the movie's on Amazon, the movie's on Vimeo, the movie's on DVD, so we can buy the movie. It's all on our website at siegfriedsbrain.com, SIEGFRIEDS brain, siegfriedsbrain.com. Buy the movie, rent the movie, enjoy the movie. I hope you do. And also on Facebook, Siegfried's Brain, Instagram, Siegfried's Brain. Geez, is that what you're supposed to do at the end of these things?
Yeah. Matter of fact, If you have trouble spelling Siegfried's brain, or you just want to take the lazy way out, just check the show notes down below or up above. I got a bunch of links, including to their website, which has access to all the streaming areas and where you can buy it as well.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Tony. Really enjoyed this very, very much. You guys were great, and I much continued success with your happening thing here.
Nice.
And if you can email me and let me know how I can have people listen to it, I think they'd get a real kick out of it.
Yeah,
I don't know how many are going to make it all the way through, but I'm kidding.
I don't make it all the way through. I can.
Yeah, I thought you nodded off there at the end. I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
wasn't sure. Look for the rat shadow.
Yeah, I definitely will. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Robin. Tony, where do you like people following you?
You can find me at Tony Has 9 Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews and unboxings. This month I'm doing 31 Days Hath October, where I do 31 horror movie reviews in 31 days. Find me at Tony Has 9 Fingers on Twitter, Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And, of course, here most Tuesdays on The Wicked Horror Show. Kevin?
A-Knuckle on Twitter and Instagram every Tuesday night here. I'm also doing reviews. We just reviewed this one. It's up now, so go check that out with me and the 13th Wolfman. Also part of Secret Underground Hideout and Black and White Fright, all of which are on the network. Leo?
Yeah, and for me, just Google Leo Pond. You find a bunch of stuff. Could be true, could be not. I'm not going to say which is which. But more importantly, check out Siegfried's Brain. Housesitter, tonight they saved Siegfried's Brain. Link is in the show notes. Also follow these awesome people and head on over to thedorkening.com, which you can find all the information on the shows on the network. And with that, we will bid you guys adieu.
Goodbye, everybody.
Kevin, after saying I'm not going to do read reviews anymore, how can you send me your review?
Yeah. We can. I can send you the link. Yeah.
Robin Rocks 23